to be late, and then Posula, More, Rakosa, Mohlala, Mtembu, Mkonto, and Councillor Davids Green all will be late. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much. Any other leave of absence? Councillor Dami again.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to check with Councillor Marcel. Did we hear Councillor Mbundu or somebody else? I'm not sure. Did we hear Councillor Mbundu?
Councillor Dame, you talk through the speaker. Thank you. Any other leave of absence? Thank you, councillors. Can we approve the apologies as submitted? Thank you.
Councillors, we now move to 3.2, which is the debate on the budget speech.
Councillors, I'm trying to establish with legal if we are going to proceed without the MMC finance. Since the mayor is here, I will revert. Councillor Rafferty.
Thank you, Speaker. As the Patriotic Alliance, we like to request a 30-minute caucus break. Thank you.
Councillor Knott.
Thanks, Madam Speaker. While you deliberate on that request, we as the DA are happy to continue. The Mayor is present, and as the MMC acts under his delegated authority, I'm sure he is able to respond to our debate. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. We are going to take the 30 minutes caucus break, but unless the executive mayor revokes his decision to delegate those powers, we will not proceed to debate without the MMC finance. For now, I'm going to grant the 30 minutes caucus break. We will come back and then see how we proceed. Thank you very much. They can cut the drums. Welcome back, councillors. Can we get settled?
Just an update on the list, the speaking list.
Oh, okay.
It's just the swap of Echoes and Joburg with Santana.
We start
So
with Santana
start with Santana,
and then Joburg.
then there's an addition.
All right. I'm waiting for the councillors to sit down before we can proceed. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, councillors. We do have quite a bit to cover today. I would like us to be swift in coming in, settling down. Councillor Rafiti, you can prepare yourself. You asked for the caucus break. Councillors, please sit down. Quietly, please sit down. Councillor Mohapi, can you kindly sit down with the caucus there? Thank you. Chair Rafiti, you can proceed. Provincial Secretary of SAMCC, we welcome you, sir. We also welcome the leadership of IFP, the Provincial Chairperson, Honorable Dlamini. We welcome you, sir. If there are any other, we are ready to proceed to our next item.
We had moved to item 3.2, which is the debate on the budget speech.
Thank you. We shall start with ANC. Councillor Medupi, you have 10 minutes. There has been a request for some councillors who wish to use this podium. You are welcome, but you are also welcome to be where you are. You've got the mics, the camera can zoom into you, we can see you, your constituencies can see you, you are audible even online. So, but if there's a burning desire to be on the podium, we will not stop. Thank you.
If there's a burning desire, yeah, I like that one. Yeah. If there's a burning desire, I like that. Yeah.
Councillor Medupi.
I know I can come there.
You can come.
Yeah, I do have a burning desire.
Tell you. Thank you. Burning desire.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, let me thank you for this opportunity and greet you as the head of the legislative arm of this House. And also let me extend my greetings to the executive arm of this House as led by Executive Mayor Kabelo Kwamanda. Madam Speaker, let me also greet the leadership of the African National Congress
I would like to start by greeting the chairperson of the province of Gauteng, Panyaza Panyapanya Lusufi. He is indeed an inspiring leader, and we are looking up to him. I would also like to greet the regional secretary of Johannesburg, Sasabona Manganye, and all the delegation that he is leading. I will also be making a mistake if I do not greet the leader of the caucus of the ANC in this council, Ntate Tata Sello Morer. Madam Speaker, yesterday's budget speech by Finance MMC Councillor Tata Morero was an embodiment of hope. The speech demonstrated that the institutional memory is an indispensable phenomenon in dealing with the complex issues of governance. Madam Speaker, the city of Joburg is Titanic, and when Titanic sinks amidst turbulent waves of ocean, it requires the caliber of the captain like MMC Tata Morero. And as such captains can only be found in the ANC, as the organization that boasts the great wealth of knowledge and experience of more than 110 years of existence. I assert, Madam Speaker, that without any vestige of doubt, that no other political party in South Africa can have an appreciation and comprehension of the gravity and the magnitude of the complex challenges of our people, and unless one has drunk from the well of knowledge of the African National Congress. The budget speech has spoken to the hearts and minds of the poor, the youth, and the most vulnerable in our society. It has spoken with the people with a disability. We appreciate that despite coming from the city's ruined financial viability, the budget has made a bold move of catering 6,000 liters of water for all residents of Johannesburg. This was taken away by the administration that came post-2016. But now, because we have the caring government, it has brought back this service to our people. Young people are also happy, and we believe that as time progresses, more will be given to them. As 20 million budget was allocated towards youth development. We are also happy, Madam Speaker, that 21 million capital budget for a 3-year provision of 150 free access points of Wi-Fi. This will go a light for the residents of the city of Johannesburg. We also welcome the grant of 112.8 million for the public employment program and a grant of 13.9 million for EPWP. This will lessen the impact of poverty and unemployment amongst the citizens of Johannesburg. We have seen that unemployment is very high, and the government that cares for the people, the government that is biased towards the poor, is the government that will bring such bold initiatives. And we really appreciate this. Abantu abanje ngoThabisa, Tamara, Lofi, Magawule, nabanye abaninzi abasoloku bekhala ngamathuba emisebenzi, bafumene isigaba kwaye ngoku banokuphefumla ngethemba lokuba ikamva liqaqambile kwaye lindumiso ngamathuba njengoko kubhengezwe amathuba enkqesho ayi-14,750. Sinethemba lokuba abantu baseGoli ngoku baza kubamba la mathuba, Masibulele kulo rhulumente onenkatalo. ANC caucus in council is also feeling proud and adulated that the workers' cry, long cry, has finally been heard, and that their tears been wiped. That political facilitated agreement, PFA, is now going to be realized, and that the study bursary for the underprivileged has also been catered for. This is what makes the citizens of Johannesburg happy about this budget, because it has spoken with almost every section of this society. Madam Speaker, the inner city residents are also happy to hear that hijacked buildings and bad buildings are going to be attended, and that 71 million rand is catered for the transitional housing while dealing with the hijacked buildings. We believe that this will unlock the housing opportunities for our people in the inner city, where they are currently subjected to the bogus landlords and arbitrary evictions. Njengoba ngikhuluma, cishe abantu abangamashumi amathathu kuya ku-35 njengamanje bashiwe emgwaqweni ngemuva kokuxoshwa kanye nokudilizwa kwesakhiwo ebebahlala kuso. UMamqedani Khanyile ushiye iKZN eshesha ukuzosindisa impahla futhi avikele nezingane zakhe. Lesi sabelo mali sinethemba kubantu abanjengomama uMamqedani Khanyile, Khulekani Ngobese, Mxolisi Khanyile, Lucky Matavulani nabanye abaningi, ngoba izindlu eziguqukayo sezabelwe imali. Having been moved by this speech, Madam Speaker, the caucus of the ANC is happy, and the caucus of the ANC is welcoming this speech. But we are saying this speech should be given life by the support from the residents. We as the councillors, particularly from the ANC, will work with our communities to encourage them to pay for the services they use, so that this budget can be given life. Because we don't want at the end to be accused ke batho ba bo rona ka hore rona re ba rui ba ditshepiso empa ba futsana ba diphethahatso. Re tlo le bontsha re sebetsa kaofela setjhaba sa Johannesburg hore ka nnete re tlo lena ho sebedisana le lona, re tlo ba barui ba diphethahatso. City of Johannesburg is not going to be the same again. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mudupi. Indeed. Thank you so much for that world-class argument. I appreciate the debate. We are now going to the Democratic Alliance, Councillor Santana.
Thank you, Speaker. Madam Speaker, with your permission and indulgence, allow me firstly to apologize for any copyright infringements and the bastardizing a classic theatrical movie. But I couldn't help myself, as it resonated so well with how the MMC of Finance wanted to do things differently. So, close your eyes as I take you through the first 47 minutes of, wait for it, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's a classic, right? How wonderful it was for the MMC of Finance to take us through the time warp as the government of local government unity reminisced in unison, "Let's do the time walk again." As we went back to the early 2000s right up to 2016. There's no doubt that the city has achieved accolades in the past, and we can learn from a lot from it. But what we do with that knowledge enables us to reshape the now and the future. Madam Speaker, the MMC of Finance acknowledged the following. Oops. The unfavorable challenges within the economic landscape, the 10 consecutive repo rate increases since November 2021 by the South African Reserve Bank to contain inflation, the increases implemented by our bulk service suppliers such as Eskom and Rand Water. Then he proceeded to announce the property rates will increase by over and above the implementation of the 2023 General Valuation Roll. It's worth noting that under the DA-led multi-party government, we did not increase the property rates during the implementation of the 2018 General Valuation Roll. Noting all the other tariff announced, of concern is the justification of the sanitization tariff increase of 9.3% for residents' properties based on charging on the use of the property size. We believe the city is unjustifiably enriching itself by double taxing, in a sense, from the same charge as that of the water tariff. The sanitization tariff requires a review and to be brought in line with our peer municipalities. Madam Speaker, a lot was said in the budget speech about initiatives, decisive actions to rebuild the city's finances. I'll name them. The overall of our supply chain processes, optimizing our procurement process, ensuring key positions are filled, optimizing the use of the city's limited resources by doing more with less, improving productivity and managing human resources efficiently, allocations of resources that support the strategic turnaround of key revenue generating entities, intensifying interventions on reducing electricity and water losses, intensifying revenue enhancement strategy, exploring alternative funding options and partnerships, applying cash management strategies to rebuild the cash reserves that can be springboard for future expansion in the capital investment program, implement the district development model. As always, the devil's in the detail. And we await how these initiatives and decisive actions will be implemented. Madam Speaker, fast track to the 80.9 billion Rand 2022-2024 budget. The first step the MMC of Finance alluded to was the rebasing of the current year's budget by 6.7 billion, bringing the current year's budget from approximately 77.3 billion to 70.6 billion. Now ask yourself, approximates to 10.3 billion Rand increase in the budget for 2023-2024. How? Does it seem realistic? Wait for it. No. Finally, this budget is clearly a political budget of the GLU administration for the upcoming provincial and national elections, and once again has at the behest of the forgotten residents and the forgotten ratepayers of the city of Johannesburg. Based on the above acknowledgements of the MMC, the forgotten residents would have rightly concluded that the budget proposed is not sustainable. The city and its entities have failed and refused to control expenses, to reduce overall and call every detailed fell through. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Time is fleeting and madness takes control. Thank you.
You have just said
Thank
nothing.
you so much.
Yes.
Councillor Santana for the argument. Councillor Majola.
Greetings to you all councillors, Madam Speaker, Your Worship, the Executive Mayor, the member of the Mayoral Committee for Finance. A special greetings to the incoming Premier of Gauteng, Mr. Ngobeni. The province of Gauteng, Mr. Ngobeni, is eagerly waiting for you to take over and introduce the ActionSA difference, which I am confident that you are capable of bringing. Good morning to you, sir, and I wish you excellent health. Madam Speaker, I couldn't help but notice the stark difference and the glaring misalignment between the Mayor's State of the City address and yesterday's budget. Yesterday's budget was delivered with a degree of authority. Was delivered with a degree of authority. Sitting in my seat yesterday, I could feel the house was beginning to be electric. Considering that these two statements are essentially the Mayor's statements, I wonder, Madam Speaker, which is which exactly? Take, for example, the Mayor's remarks, and I quote, "Fighting and defeat is a top priority of this government of local unity. To bolster our efforts in fighting crime, we plan to recruit approximately 2,000 crime wardens." Yet the MMC of Finance made no mention of this in his budget. Speaker, I'd like to introduce a term that's commonly used on social media called blue ticking or blue tick. Some of you may have suffered this fate, this disparaging fate. A blue tick or blue ticking defines an instance where one sends a text hoping for a response or a reaction only for the receiver to read the text and offer no response whatsoever. It mostly happens when the receiver holds the view that the sender's message is not important and has no urgency and therefore deserves no response at all. In colloquial language, Madam Speaker, what the MMC of Finance did to the aspirations of the Mayor as it relates to crime wardens was a blue tick. As if that was not enough, Madam Speaker, in his State of the City address, the Executive Mayor expressed appetite to source power from independent power producers, the IPPs. Yet again, in the budget, there was no detail and no financial consideration of this overdue undertaking beyond a possible feasibility study. Madam Speaker, the issues facing this city emanating from load shedding preempt the outcomes of such a feasibility study. The damage of power distribution infrastructure as a result of power cuts, the rising cases of cable theft, the sad passing of Nehemiah Eaton, reportedly as a result of load shedding, are reasons why this city needs to do more to protect its residents from severe load shedding. We need to reduce our reliance on the failing ESCOM, Madam Speaker. The independent power producers are a solution to mitigate against the severity of load shedding. Unfortunately, the MMC missed an opportunity to take this matter seriously. Madam Speaker, we need to accept that we can no longer fold our hands and wait for ESCOM to get itself in order. We need to accept that we have a responsibility as the Metro to do something about load shedding. We have a responsibility to protect our residents from the economic and social costs of load shedding. We are probably one of the few municipalities, if not the only one, that owns a power utility. And what's the point of owning one if we will continue to suffer the same difficulties as the rest of the country? Mr. Mayor, we need to realize that this is an economic hub of the country. Indeed, this is an economic powerhouse. We must be different from the rest of the country because there is a lot at stake here in Joburg. Load shedding destroys small businesses, thereby destroying livelihoods. Load shedding slows down economic activity. Load shedding sheds jobs. Load shedding sinks our communities deeper into poverty. And of late, Madam Speaker, we have learned, sadly, that load shedding kills people. Load shedding is an ugly thing. How much more should our residents and our people have to go through before we accept that we need to diversify our energy sources? Our residents should not have to accept having to plan their day according to load shedding schedules. This is not normal, and it should never be. If this government is not willing to accept this responsibility, then it should be removed and a government willing to take this responsibility seriously be installed. I have to say, Mr. Mayor, you raised my hopes when you mentioned the IPPs in your State of the City address. I thought finally, here's a mayor willing to put up a real fight against load shedding. I thought here's a mayor willing to be on the side of small business owners. I thought here's a mayor who's willing to come to rescue when our residents and their livelihoods need rescuing. Where's the money going to come from? I can almost hear the MMC of Finance silently screaming this question. You can always clamp down, MMC, on the waste that occurs when our city fails to protect the public infrastructure. Millions and millions of rands are spent reinstalling traffic lights that the city. Millions and millions of rands are spent reinstalling traffic lights that are destroyed by criminals in our roads, refilling potholes that were poorly filled, replacing stolen cables that are stolen during load shedding, replacing the damage in our power stations, because the reality is that our electricity infrastructure was not built to tolerate regular power cuts. The reality is that power cuts actually destroy this infrastructure. We need money, rather the money spent on these repairs, Mr. Mayor, can be avoided. We need to invest in ensuring that our public infrastructure is safe. Another way to save money would be to perhaps not host cocktail parties at a time when our residents are faced with rising costs of living. With a show of hands, councillors, how many of you do agree that it's incredibly inappropriate to host a cocktail party during the time when our residents are facing difficult financial circumstances? Madam Mayor, another way in which we can find money to address load shedding is to embark on an aggressive revenue collection drive, which I challenge both of you, MMC, and the Executive Mayor to. There are big corporate customers that continue to owe our city millions and millions of rands in municipal rates. We cannot continue to provide services to such businesses if they do not pay. We have to be serious about revenue collection. We as ActionSA challenge this government to crack down on non-paying customers. 92%, albeit an excellent amount, cannot be celebrated so much. Imagine you are a salesman. Here's an example. Imagine you are a salesman. You are selling, let's pick a random product like cocktails, right? There's appetite, clearly. Out of every unit that you sell, you only collect 92% of the selling price. Like that, you are not making a profit, are you? Likewise, MMC, 92% means there's still millions that are not collected. We could use this money to shield our Joburg economy from severe load shedding. I'm not trying to be irrational here and say that we should collect 100%. My point is we can always do better. MMC, we are concerned that despite being the poorest of all of our regions, Region G was not considered at all in this budget. Nothing was planned for El Dorado Park, despite you and your team visiting the area during their protest last year. No plans at all for Innerdale, Rivali, Westbury. Indeed, this is concerning. While we welcome the 2.5 billion rand allocation towards the mega housing developments, we still maintain that in order to address the housing backlog in the city, this government needs to engage in a public-private partnership. This city needs to identify old and abandoned buildings and give them to private sector developers to renovate them. And bring them back to usable state. This would revive the liveliness. Here's an opportunity, Executive Mayor. This would revive the liveliness of our city, drive the economic activity, arrest the continuing decay in our inner city, address the housing backlog, and create employment. I'm sure you would want to claim that. And it's a huge opportunity for you to take. We note the 71 million rand allocation for transitional housing, We do hope rather that this
5
is the
seconds.
first step towards the inner city rejuvenation. Although this is an idea conceived by the former mayor and now ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba, MMC, you are welcome to take this and run with it.
Thank you so much. Your time is up.
ActionSA supports this budget.
Thank you, Councillor Majola. IFP, Councillor Makuba. Thank you, Councillor Majola. You can take your seat. Councillor Makuba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, the Executive Mayor, members of the Mayoral Committee, the leader of the IFP caucus, Councillor Mlungisi Mabaso, members of the IFP caucus, fellow councillors. A Canadian writer and lawyer, Robin Sharma, in his observations once said, "Blaming others is nothing more than excusing yourself." His observations are befitting in light of the speeches this council has listened to, from that of the Executive Mayor to the yesterday's budget speech. However, as the Inkatha Freedom Party, we choose to embrace the theme as outlined by the MMC of Finance when he said, "Let us make the impossible possible by making Joburg a center for economic growth and development." We are, however, noting a growing tendency from those who are in the governing side of this council of inheriting the good of the previous administration and disowning the bad. When you take over the administration, you inherit it all, good and bad. In the spirit of 1976, of my generation, we as students of Soweto did not blame the founding fathers of our liberation struggle, who were either in exile or jailed. We took the matters into our own hands and confronted the then regime. It is that spirit that the IFP wishes to inculcate to this council. Madam Speaker, it is this conviction, if it is the conviction of the IFP that any budget that seeks to redress the wrongs of the past and touch the lives of many be supported. And we will be on the lookout to ensure that this shoestring budget is stretched to a point where it touches most residents of the city, especially those who are from disadvantaged communities, such as informal settlements, hostels, retirement villages, and the colored community. It is the same spirit that we welcome the establishment of the Youth Directorate. However, we are mystified by its budget being placed in social development. The IFP believes that it should be in the office of the Executive Mayor, as issues of young people are not welfare issues, but transversal. The IFP has noted the pronouncement of 2,000 wardens by the Executive Mayor in his soccer speech. However, these wardens did not find expression on the budget as it was presented. We therefore want to know, where will this budget come from? Why was it omitted from the budget speech? And what measures are going to be taken to ensure that the recruitment is transparent and not partisan? Kungasphindi okwenzeka kwiPanyapanya 6,000. Running a successful city is at the center of its ability to collect rates, and we must ensure that the city does collect to its optimal. We must at the same time, at the same token,
Councillor Makuba, there's
yes,
a hand. Kindly take your seat. Councillor Nonkumba. What is your point of order?
Thank you very much, Speaker. Those that should be crying is us, because the beneficiaries of that process are the hostel dwellers.
What is the point
So
of order?
the point of order is that.
Councillors,
The point of order is that.
Councillor Nonkumbe, just hold on. Councillors, please. Otherwise, I'll just allow him to carry on to speak. What is the point of order, Councillor Nonkumbe?
The point of order is that, Speaker, one, Councillor Makuba is misleading the House by saying they were robbed the opportunity in the 6,000 people that were employed by the province. So, not a true reflection of what is. Yes.
Councillor Mukuba, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I'm happy that there was no point of order. Running a successful city is at the center of its ability to collect rates, and we must ensure that the city does collect to its optimal. We must, at the same token, be mindful of the economic hardships our people are confronted with. The recent statistics on unemployment rate cannot be overlooked, and many lost their income thanks to COVID-19. The IFP therefore calls for an assessment of each household in the enforcing of the rate collection as opposed to a one-size-fits-all approach. The IFP welcomes the allocated budget for the programs such as the upgrading of informal settlements, hostel development and maintenance, site and services programs. We believe that this budget, insufficient as it is, will go a long way in touching people's lives. Madam Speaker, the IFP will always support the budget. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors. I would also like to, we have an echo. Can we fix that? Thank you. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the representatives of Amantungwa Royal Kingdom. We welcome you in our midst, Bayete. We then move forward to Freedom Front Plus, Councillor Dilange.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. All protocol observed. MMC Moreira delivered a well-articulated speech, and it is crystal clear how the money will flow and where the money will be allocated. But as we all know, budgets are wish lists and hope to achieve them through possible collections, grants and loans. The Freedom Front Plus is concerned, though, if this 80.9 billion budget is funded or not. And yes, I did see the comments from National Treasury. I recently read an article in the Business News regarding the income to debt levels of our citizens in South Africa, and I was shocked. Consumers that earn between 0 and 15,000 pay 65% of the income towards debt. Our tax base, middle to upper class, 15 to 45,000 rand in earnings, pay 70% of the income toward debts. And the affluent class pay 60%. Over the last 2 quarters, it is a fact that payments were missed and defaults on house and car loans rose sharply. Madam Speaker, actuaries must look into the future to predict, look into the past to predict the future. Maybe the GLU should take in consideration 1988, New York Stock Exchange crash, closer to home, 1999, where interest rates hovered at 23%, 2009, the property crash, before committing the city to an 87% collection rate baseline. Through you, Madam Speaker, MMC, the city must tread carefully over the next 3 years, and we shouldn't get involved with huge capital projects that could be funded and executed by province. I have to highlight the solar project rollout. Even though it's a wonderful idea for upliftment, the problem is it's very expensive. And these installations can be removed and the residents can sell them if times get tough. On a positive note, on the 1.5 to 2 billion rebate for pensioners on property rates and only taxing the above rebated levels, it's a move in the right direction. Unfortunately, on the 350 downwards to 300,000 decrease, it's got the opposite effect, especially with the average close to 20% combination increase in property rates. Madam Speaker, I still remember the previous rollout of smart meters. It was riddled with problems, corruption, it took way too long and it was very expensive. If I hear supply chain management, the hair in my neck stands up. This is unfortunately where we find the rotten apples in the city. If we do not conform, clean this department, we're going to have future problems on capital projects. We must strike the balance between capital projects and maintenance on existing infrastructure where our taxpayers live. Due to the reform, due to the time, Madam Speaker, I would like to suggest the following from the Freedom Front to keep our residents paying their municipal bills. Adjustment downwards, 83% for the collection rate, 0% rate increase on property taxes, only 3% increase on pick-it-up, sanitation and service charges, and to rethink our capital rollouts and divert our funds towards maintenance, to hit the golden standard of National Treasury of 8% of the budget towards collections, and collect all outstanding intergovernmental debts. Madam Speaker, in closing, the city cannot throw figures into the air and see what sticks. To base a budget of this magnitude on hopes and dreams is concerning. The GLU must stop loan funding themselves out of trouble, because we're all going to find ourselves wanting soon. The Freedom Front cannot support this budget. I thank you.
Thank you. ACDP, Councillor Mkonza.
All right, thank you. Allow me to first acknowledge our Almighty God, the creator of the heavens and the earth. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Greetings to all councillors, ACDP constituents, the residents of our beloved city, Johannesburg. I greet you all in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Madam Speaker, let me start my speech by referring to my guiding manual, the Holy Bible, in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 19, paraphrased. They promise them freedom, while they themselves are slaves of corruption. Madam Speaker, we were sitting here on the 13th of June 2023 hoping to be led by MMC Morera in terms of the budget plan for the city. To our uttermost disappointment, there was no guidance or proper details on how the current administration plans to restructure, transform, and make the city thrive. There is no clear strategy for cost containment measures and reduction of expenditure. Madam Speaker, same as the flaccid soccer speech, the budget speech lacked details and or failed to mention revenue collection strategies, especially on the city's employees. Instead, the MMC of Finance dedicated the whole 15 pages of his speech to retelling a positive Igoli 200 story and ducking responsibility for the reported city's financial constraints. The residents of the city expected a more prudent speech from your government. We understand you inherited the city with areas in supplier payments, no cash in bank, a deficit of almost 291 million, but so what? What are you planning to do differently? We waited in agony to hear the plans you have shaping the bright future, but you never told us explicitly on how your administration is planning to turn things around. However, Madam Speaker, as I'm mandated to represent my constituency, allow me to respond to the budget speech delivered here in Council chambers by the MMC of Finance. Speaker, allow me to comment on the tariff and revenue collection. The ACDP welcomes the 2% tariff increase, as we hope that it will inspire our beloved residents to pay. On revenue collection, we all know that revenue collection accounts for over 50% of cities' sources of revenue. We know that electricity is 26%, property 16%. With this information before the MMC failed to mention how he's going to enforce consumer accounts payment from the councillors and the city's employees. According to the annual financial statement tabled in this chamber a few weeks ago, total areas account to for councillors amounted to close to 500,000. The city is struggling with revenue collection, which ultimately affects the service delivery. How are you going to ensure that councillors who owe the city pay their debts? It is disturbing to note that councillors are contributing to the low revenue collection, and this is a great concern for the ACDP. Allocation of aging fleet and illegal dumping on pickup. The ACDP will advise the administration to put more effort and money to embark on extensive education programs on the importance of recycling, increase the number of waste drops-off sites, and create subsidized recycling economic opportunities to reduce municipal reliance on landfills. Let me speak about informal settlement and budget allocated to projects proposed in the speech. The current admin boasted proudly that it will replicate what has happened in Soweto in terms of spatial redesigning and economic opportunities in other areas within the city. However, we heard nothing about this in the budget speech, and we know that this is just one of those empty promises. The 365 million earmarked for Luferen continues the apartheid spatial planning model by providing accommodation many kilometers away from the employment opportunities. Informal settlement and delays in project implementation. The GLU have a history of incomplete projects, for example, Kliptown, Greater Orange Farm, and Ivory Park projects. We will monitor with caution this budget, for we know that the 1.4 billion that was allocated to the Alexander Renewal Project is still missing. As the ACDP, we will be watching with great interest to see how many informal settlement dwellers will benefit. On job opportunities, the ACDP welcomes the grant of 13.9 million towards
Thank you,
EWP.
Councillor Mkonza.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
APC, Councillor Machete. Councillor Mkonza, please switch off your mic.
Misong yemi botse Speaker sa Councillor, the Honorable Councillor, the Honorable Executive Mayor Gabelo Commander, Honorable MMC, fellow APC constituent and the fellow resident of the city of Johannesburg, Madumegi Yao. Speaker sa Councillor, indeed, this is the era of making impossible possible. As MMC Morero. As mentioned, APC as part of the government of local unity. It's happily welcomed the budget speech with both hands. We are serious about uniting the local government in order to deliver quality service to our people. The budget speech delivered in this chamber yesterday inspire hope and dreams for better future for the residents of our city. Therefore, we fully support the budget. We are happy with the constitution that took place to shape the budget. We believe there is no budget if people were not consulted. It is our desire as APC to see more public participation happening to our strength, the implementation of IDP projects and programs happening across the city. We also wish to see consultation happening more at ward level. In fact, we encourage a ward-based budget system guiding the plans of how money is spent by the city. Thank you, MMC, for emphasizing a good governance and making every rent useful. We must save the interest of the people only. Always do away with waste and corruption. Allow me to comment on the details of the speech. There are so many good things to talk about the budget, but in the interest of time, let me pick few capture the era of the APC. Social budget. Thank you, MMC of Finance. Listening to the people and increasing the budget. The allocation of 359 million will ensure that many good things are done for the youth people with disability, vulnerable women and children, as well as poor households. APC welcomed the allocation of 20 million towards youth development, the Force on Substance Abuse Crisis and Treatment Center program, and the creation of work opportunity in partnership with NGO. Number 2, Cosmo City development. Speaker, Sir Councillor, I'm happy to see that my hometown, Cosmo City, was acknowledged 4 times in the speech. We welcome the fixing of street light, storage, repair, building, swimming pool, skills development, and road reconstruction, which are about happening in Cosmo City. Thank you. Listening to our people, MMC Morero. You are welcome and support the budget, APC. Bula! Bula!
Thank you, Councillor Machete. Councillor Mpolobosho, AHC.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I want to greet the youngest mayor of City of Johannesburg, Councillor Commander. And I want to greet also the MMCs, the Whip of Council, Councillor Zungu, and the Chair of Chair, Councillor Phillips. And also, I want to greet also the Chairperson of Section 79, and also the leaders of political parties in the Council. I greet you all. Speaker, I will be just do some summary of the speech of the MMC yesterday. Then MMC spoke about then the formalization of informal settlement. Then as African Art Congress, then we support that, but the MMC, you didn't even mention the realignment. But I'm happy because of then the youngest mayors then mentioned it during his speech. Thank you very much, Mayor. And the second one is the issue of the upgrading of road in Ivory Park, Gravel Road. MMC then, we supported that, but also we have a serious matter in terms of issue of the road called then Freedom Road. There's a traffic, but also then you mentioning that the upgrading of the bridge, maybe then you will also support that particular then road to shift, maybe to upgrade one, the bridge, so that you can assist the issue of the traffic in Ivory Park. Because of that road really is frustrating the resident of Ivory Park. Then also then MMC, you mentioning then upgrading of the sewer in Deep Slot. And also we need that one to be extended also in Ivory Park. Then Ivory Park, there's a serious problem in terms of the sewer blockage. We need then assistance on that part. And without wasting the time, and Madam Speaker, I just say thank you very much, MMC, for your speech. And then your tabling budget, we're supporting, and as African Art Congress, we're supporting the budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Democratic Alliance, Councillor Eche Zonjoku.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Executive Mayor, fellow councillors and residents of Johannesburg, good morning. Madam Speaker, if the city of Johannesburg was a business, it would be liquidated as far back as 2015. It is clear that this budget is Premier Lessufi's ANC election campaign budget with no regard for the ratepayers, despite the fact that the bulk of it is funded by the ratepayers.
Councillor, there's a hand. Kindly take your seat. MMC Masuku.
Madam Speaker, there is graffiti on the table on my far right and in front of me. May we please request that the graffiti be removed? And Madam Speaker, there is also no Lessufi in this chamber. We are councillors and there's no Lessufi. If she could please withdraw that.
Thank you so much, MMC Masuku. Please do remove those protest pages from the desks. We'll appreciate that. We want to thank you so much, Councillors A. Thank you, Councillors. Councillor Njuku, you can proceed. I heard you say Premier Lessufi. I don't know if there was anything else you said that was untoward, but you can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I would just want to place it on record. The reason why there is a page is at the mandate of the residents of Ward 74. That is why I brought this paper into this chambers. Those residents that elected me into this chambers. Thank you so much. As we sit here, there are residents.
Councillor ActionSA, please take your seat. There's another hand. Please, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I just want to call order on the councillor who's casting aspersions. She said the budget is therefore a political campaign for the Premier. And there's nowhere where in the speech it is like that.
Thank you.
Can you withdraw?
Councillor, please take your seat. Councillor Njuku, just continue with your speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for protecting free speech in this chambers. As we sit here, Madam Speaker, there are residents who pay their water bill, who pay their rates.
Councillor Njuku, there's another hand. Please take your seat. Councillor Mbengwa, you can proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, to allow me to raise a point of order. Speaker, the Honorable Enchonjo Nzoku is putting those graphics there, and each and every single ward councillor.
What is the point of order? I've already ruled on. Please proceed, Councillor ActionSA.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for protecting the mandate of my residents. It is clear, Madam Speaker, that the residents who are ratepayers fund a big chunk of this budget and has to pay and get nothing in return. Madam Speaker, the MMC had taken 47 minutes reminiscing about the time between...
Please take your seat. I didn't see whose hand was up first, but there are two hands. Councillor, the Chair of Chairs. Chair of Chairs.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm just concerned about the precedence that is being set with these posters in this council chamber, because in the next council chamber we will have a whole host of posters here, and there shouldn't be complaints from the side, because we also have mandates from our constituents and we do not broadcast it in this fashion out of respect for the House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We are taking, councillors, we are taking all into consideration. Give me 2 minutes with legal. They are looking at the rules and the law. I'll revert to you on the posters. Can I do that? In the meantime, while they look into that and advise me, Councillor Nzuko, please proceed with the speech.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The MMC had taken 47 minutes reminiscing about the time between 2000 and 2014, when the city of Johannesburg was still a
Councillors,
city
thank
that
you.
business
Councillor
was
Etienne Zonjuko.
comfortable investing in. Madam
Councillor
Speaker, this was
Etienne Zonjuko,
23 years
please take
ago.
your seat. Please take your seat. Thank you. Councillors, please give me the 2 minutes to finalize with legal, then I'll come back to you. She can wait, I don't mind. Yes, so you can relax. There's no issues, she can wait. Just relax. Councillor Etienne Zonjuko, give us 2 minutes. They are giving me the advice. Thank you, councillors. Thank you so much for your indulgence. I appreciate it. Councillors, there is no explicit rule that says you cannot present. But don't clap yet. I'm not done. I'm not done. Don't clap. There is no explicit rule. But the guidelines say we need to conduct ourselves in a manner that respects to come down. I appreciate it. Councillor, if you can remove that so you can proceed with your speech, it will assist us. Thank you. Councillors, we don't need you to shout. I have asked the councillors to remove it, so I would ask that we just maintain.
Speaker, I would petition from the ANC to remove it. So residents, as per your mandate, I've done what you said. I will now remove
ActionSA,
it.
that's part of your minutes that are going, so it's part of your speech.
Thank you so much. Madam Speaker, the MMC had taken 47 minutes reminiscing about the time between 2000 and 2014, when the city of Johannesburg was still a city that business was comfortable investing in. Madam Speaker, this was 23 years ago. He mentions financials, still having an appetite to lend to the city in 2014, 2015, but he fails to acknowledge that this was before state capture and the Zondo Commission, and the ANC was in government and collapsed the city of Johannesburg for the multi-party coalition to pick up the pieces in 2016. It is also clear, Madam Speaker, that not only is the mayor disconnected from the residents, but also the MMC of Finance is completely out of touch. He's completely out of touch with what is happening in the city. Madam Speaker, MMC of Finance, Councillor Marrero, said nothing. It is clear from the comments by National Treasury in the report that this budget is unfunded. We are very concerned, Madam Speaker, that the MMC has indicated an increase in both CapEx and OpEx in JRA budget over 3 years, but no clear indication under other as to how it will be spent. The MMC is talking about the effects of load shedding, but he fails to mention that the problems that City Power is experiencing is as a result of ANC load shedding. You cannot mention load shedding without mentioning the ANC who is in charge of national government, who is in charge of ExCom.
Councillor ActionSA, kindly take your seat. Councillor Nonkombi, you can rise.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Councillor Belinda.
No, Councillor. Eche Zonjoku.
I'm skeptical of pronouncing it wrongly because she will complain.
It's Eche Zonjoku. I'm telling you how to pronounce
It's fine. Eche Zonjoku. Okay, thank you very much, Speaker. Is debating the speech of the MMC, the issue of ESCOM, also implying ANC.
What is your point of order,
He is saying, Speaker, you must listen as well. She is saying the ANC, are we discussing ANC here or the budget?
Councillor, what is your point of order?
My point of order is that she is saying the ESCOM of the
Councillor, please sit down.
ANC.
Councillor Eche Zonjoku.
Are we debating the ANC here?
She can debate.
Are we debating the ANC
Councillor,
here?
sit down. Councillor, please proceed.
Speaker, you're out of order, honestly. You are really out of order.
We can't have a point of
Yourself.
order on top of a point of order, so I've ruled on that one. Councillor, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. City Power has always been the problem child. We would like to see where this funding will come from, especially since more and more residents are moving to solar and going off the grid since the failure of the city to invest adequately and heavily in infrastructure upgrades and maintenance over the past 30 years. That is what he is reminiscing about. Water is a basic human right. We have seen water bursts, sewer bursts across the city. The fact that the MMC of Finance is allocating 3.8 billion for water main replacement, 3.4 billion for sewer main replacement is commendable, MMC. We are concerned that the ANC mismanagement of 30 years and lack of maintenance, we are not holding our breath that this will translate to service delivery on the ground, since the ANC is known for enriching cadres politically aligned to them. Madam Speaker, the MMC seems not to be aware.
Please take a seat. And I'm sure you know what is the point of order about. Councillor Rapadu, please proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. I came into this house, sick as I am, to come and listen to the speech. It's fine. It's fine. But, Speaker, if the MMC saying, otherwise she must withdraw. If she can give us scientific evidence to what she's saying, then gladly we will withdraw. But I think she doesn't have, and in that case, can she withdraw? That is my plea. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor, I agree with Councillor Rapadu. Refrain from making those aspersions without proper evidence that can be provided to the House. Can you withdraw it?
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Even though the Nozondo Commission is sufficient evidence, but I will withdraw for the sake of peace unreservedly. I withdraw.
Thank you.
Just because you asked me to withdraw. Madam Speaker, the MMC seems not to be aware that the majority of entities are not VAT compliant and legally should not be trading. Inquiries to the city manager through the Governance Section 79 committee resulted in cancelled meetings because they refuse to account. Madam Speaker, The MMC mentions a feasibility study on IPPs and small-scale embedded generation, but these were already done under the multi-party government, and we hosted an energy indaba. Why is the GLU bent on reinventing the wheel unless there is a CADA waiting to get the contract for this? Madam Speaker, the city invested heavily in opportunity centers that included having a job seekers database. The MMC and the mayor talks about job creation, which we welcome, but mention nothing about the use of the job seekers database, or are these jobs reserved for GLU-aligned cadres? The MMC mentions free Wi-Fi. Madam Speaker, daar is niks verniet nie. Daar is niks verniet nie. Madam Speaker, alles het 'n prys. It is ultimately the ratepayers who pay for this, with very little being done on the ground. Madam Speaker, the MMC is celebrating the PFA, which they signed between 2011 and 2016, a number of them, but failed to deliver for 12 years. They failed the workers of the city for 12 years. It is only in November 2022 that a task team had been established and the final implementation plan was signed on the 6th of December 2022. Madam Speaker, action speaks louder than words. Madam Speaker, action speaks louder than words. If you go through this budget, Madam